Welcome to Living Inside Out podcast, and I am so excited to have you on with me today. Today, I have an exciting conversation with my dear friend Shadé Akande. She is someone that I respect greatly. I love to bits. I've known her for 17 years or so, and I just really cannot wait for you to meet her in this conversation. I also want you to know that you are incredibly loved. I want you to know that everything that you have ever dreamt of being, you've got the components inside of you to be that person. All it takes is a little bit of rearranging the components so that it starts to make sense and it becomes actionable steps for you. And one way that I want to help you do that is by inviting you to join the waitlist for Get Unstuck, which is my mindset mentoring program, where I teach you how to harness the power of your mind and use your mindset to your advantage. Strip off the mindsets that are holding you down and build on new truths. I hope you'll join me. Head to my website, talksaratory.com. All the links to all the things, as usual, are in the show notes. And I can't wait to get into conversation with you. Shadé Akande is the founder and CEO of the Leagues Group, which is the parent company of One X League, One Next League, and One Sweet Retreat. Prior to becoming an entrepreneur, Shadé was a chief people officer and has over 18 years of global executive HR experience at Google, Walmart, Verizon Wireless, and other organizations. She transitioned her expertise and passion for strategic people operations to promote inclusions in leadership through curated experiences while building engaged communities of impressive leaders. Shadé is also a published author, board member, trusted advisor, investor, and proud alumni of Syracuse University. And also, I am proud to have her as a friend. Welcome to Living Inside Out, Shadé.
Hi, Toke. So good to see you. I'm so proud to have you as a friend as well. It's been amazing.
Ooh, it's been an amazing 17 years. And I know that it's 17 years because Josh is 16 and we met just before I got pregnant with him.
That's a perfect ruler.
Yeah. And it's been a great 17 years. And I'm so proud of all that you have done, all that you are, all that you're becoming. And even more so, I feel privileged to walk the journey with you, because a lot of times we see great women and we see them in a distance. And even if we are lucky to have some sort of relationship with them, the relationship is often it's often bordered by boundary lines. So there is only so much access you have to them. Whereas with you, I've been running that journey with you, and I've been through your multiple entrepreneurial pursuits. I've seen you grow. I've seen you evolve. I've seen the risks that you've taken, the risks you're taking now, and just the way you're running your business. And you're such an inspiration.
Thank you so much. You too, Tokes, Ms. TEDx speaker. And I love to have you as my dear friend that I can text at any time. We share our journeys, our wins, our crazy moments, resources, ideas. You are definitely that for me. And I really appreciate you.
Oh, bless you, bless you, bless you. We're two blessed, very blessed women.
That we are.
So it's great to see you, even though it's over the screen, but I don't have too much regret because we just spent 4, or was it 5 glorious days together in the Amalfi Coast, and that was
Amalfi Coast.
amazing.
So good. It was so good. I mean, it was the most refreshing, turn everything off, sort of. We were checking email at night. But like laughter, spending time with people. And I love bringing people together. Sometimes some don't know each other, but I have such amazing, amazing people in my life that they always become friends of their own. And we ate well, we laughed, we walked a lot.
We did.
Anyone who has not been to the Amalfi Coast, take only flats, bring sneakers, and eat whatever you want because you're going to burn calories.
Yeah, that's it. I ate more than I've done in the past month, but I'm pretty sure I lost more weight there than I did.
And we ate really, really good, clean food too.
Yes,
so that
it was so good. And I'm so glad, and happy birthday again. It was a landmark birthday for Shadé, and It was just wonderful being there with everyone. And we're going to talk a bit more about that because that was a truly special time. But I want us to start from the very beginning. What was your childhood like? What was little Shadé like?
What was it like? So I am first generation. Both my parents are from Nigeria. And anyone who's first generation understands the experience of you having to figure things out in this country alone because your parents are not from here. There are things that they don't get. So I think that was a good start for me because I really did have to figure it out. And since then have always just had to figure everything out. I haven't been afraid to do that. I think initially I was a quiet child. I have an older brother and I have two younger siblings as well. There are four of us, two boys, two girls. And I was quiet until being quiet didn't serve me. So I think around probably middle school or beginning of high school, I started to find my voice and just kind of stand up for myself, to my parents for one, but then also to other people. It was an interesting time, but I was always creative. I made doll clothes for my Barbies. I built homes out of like cardboard boxes and made furniture. I was writing and reading a lot. And then I attended the High School of Fashion Industries where I learned to design beautiful women's attire. And it's funny, depending on when people know me, they either know me as a designer or as an HR person, because I was as a designer for a couple of decades, like from high school through college on. I had fashion shows and sold things online and made wedding gowns for friends. Like it was a big part of my life. And I realized recently that I stopped doing that when I moved to California, which I'm sure we'll get into the rest of the journey, but it was harder to find fabrics and things. So I just didn't do it. And I picked up writing a lot more. Then that's when I wrote a book in California. But so that's a short, long version of kind of the
Wow.
early years.
Oh my goodness. I mean, you've got a really rich tapestry. And, growing up in the United States, first generation, as you said, I'm sure that came with its own unique blend of challenges and opportunities that, people may not be able to relate to. So I'm really keen to find out what you think, growing up in the US or being born and raised there, what that did for you and how that shaped your personality. And also, I just want to say that I knew Shadé in the fashion era as well, because
That's right.
I wish I had my vision board next to me because I've got on there one of your dresses, Shadé. I've got on this blue. I don't know if you remember this blue. It looks like an organza top with a
I
skirt.
remember. Yep.
Because
I
Shadé
do.
had this beautiful brand called Day Design, which I mean, I think it was the first time I had seen what I would call a regular person do something extraordinary, because you had the photo shoot for the clothes in, was it the W Hotel?
Oh yeah, sure did. Had a photographer, makeup artist, beautiful models.
You had model.
Yeah, I did. And that was such a source of creative output, inspiration. I had a full-time job always, and that was just like something I did like on the side. And everyone was just wonderful, from the photographer, makeup artist, the models. We had a great time together. We would eat, we would hang out before and after the shoot was over. Like it was just such a cool experience for everyone. Everybody was up and coming. Like we were just like trying to do our thing, and it was just great.
Wow. I feel like that was very, very ballsy of you to have done that, for a number of reasons. One being a Black woman, two
Mhm.
being we were younger than we are, much younger than we are now. Um, and you just went out there, and when you started that business, and I'm sure your other ventures as well, you didn't seem to shrink your ideas to fit the stereotype that people would have had of a Black woman.
Mhm.
And so I wonder how much of your childhood affected or informed that version of you, or that part of you that had the courage to do so much.
Ooh, what a great question. You're so good at this. Let me think. Let me start with saying I love my parents very much.
Okay.
And I understand that being a parent is a challenge, especially when you're in a land that is not your own. They didn't know my capabilities. They didn't know like my skill sets, my interests. As most, I think Nigerian and just like West African parents and first generation kids can attest to, your parents sometimes have a limited kind of like mind on what they want their kids to do and be. And I feel like our parents, I try to think about their time when they were younger before they even became parents. And the way I estimate it is that they have all this like risk. Let's say we all have 100 points of risk in our life, right? That they use 95 points to come to America, and then all the risk left. So there was no more risk in them. So after that, it was like do what's easy, what's safe, what's comfortable. And I was just not that person.
Mhm.
I don't even know if I knew that I wasn't that person. I just saw things. I bored easily. I always wanted to do something I've never done before. And understanding early that my parents didn't get that or support that, I just was like, well, I'm going to do my own thing. I didn't even talk to them about half the things I did. You know, I would talk to friends or sometimes my siblings, but I think that it's unique because I think growing up, a lot of first generation kids want to please their parents, and they kind of sometimes they struggle between, well, they want me to be this thing, but I want to be this other thing. Let me do what they want. I never had that struggle. I was like, that this is what they think. This is not what I think. I'm gonna just like take these risks and do this thing. And we had some challenges along the way. We had a lot of challenges along the way. We can get into that.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think from where I grew up and having parents who were loving but not necessarily supportive, and honestly growing up in a time when my neighborhoods weren't supportive either. I want to say all the kids who are growing up in America right now who are much younger than me, who are first generation, have a wonderful experience. To hear Afro beats on the radio alone is so huge, because when we listened to Afro beats when I was growing up, it was not considered cool. When we ate jollof, it was not considered cool. My parents were dressed in the, in their attire, it was not cool. The accent, so all those things were made fun of. I was constantly othered. So I think there was never really a safe space for me. So I had to create my own, and creativity helped me do that. And beginning to just not care what people think started very, very young. And I think that's what kind of set the stage for me from then on to just do and be the things that I stepped into.
That's amazing. It's funny how um, I feel like oftentimes, especially as Christians, we have a bit of a linear mindset on how life should go, and
Mhm.
we have a thing of wanting to define what's good and what's bad, and so we don't on we forget sometimes, as the Bible says, that all things work together for good, and
Mhm.
that being in certain circumstances, no matter how challenging they are, help to shape us into the person that is not only worthy, but also capable of carrying the heavy purpose that God has given to us. And what comes to mind is Joseph, where he didn't harm anybody, he did nothing wrong, and yet he ended up in prison. But it was that experience of being in prison and being in Potiphar's house and all of that that led him to become the person who would become the prime minister one day. So, would you agree that despite the challenges and the ecosystem in which you grew up, which is made up of not only your parents' mindset, but also the segregation, maybe that's a bit of a strong word. What's the word? The common, the, you know,
It was racism, honestly. It was.
okay. So the racism, would you say
Mhm.
that that helped to shape you can you see any positives that came out of that? Or do you feel like there was nothing good that came out of it? A bit too extreme, but
I understand what you're saying. Absolutely. It helped to form who I am, my thoughts, my persistence. I think Lovey Ajayi said, I might butcher this phrase, but something along the lines of, even like when you're on the right path, there's going to be tough seasons. Tough seasons doesn't mean that you're on the wrong path, right? And
right.
I think it definitely formed who I am. What I find amazing though is when people talk about their journeys and talk about tough times, and they're like, "Oh, I would do it all again." I would not do it all again. I will say
Yeah,
that. And it's easy to say that because then I don't have to do it all again. But
I
there were
know.
some really tough times, and you thank God.
Wow, wow. No, and thank you for being transparent as well, because I really champion authenticity and love the fact that you're like, no, I'm not going to do it all again, because it sounds more poetic and
Yeah.
valiant to say I will do it all again, but no.
Right.
So can you think of, we've talked a bit about your career, some of your career. How did you then transition from fashion into HR?
Yes. So in college, I had three majors, right? And I say this because we ask kids a lot of times, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I think that you just should not ask children that. Once you get to college, you realize all the majors that exist that you could never even know as a young person. And we
Mhm.
should figure out what kids' skills and talents and passions are and just, help them to develop that and encourage them to figure it out later. Yes, college is expensive. You don't want to be there 4 years not knowing at all what you want to do, but really get there and encourage them to figure it out then. So I started off as an accounting major. And then I shift to a nursing major, which I should never ever have done. Honestly, that was after a conversation with my mother. I don't need to be anybody's nurse ever at all. It was not for me. But then in the spring semester of my junior year, I transitioned to retail marketing. And my plan was to become a buyer when I graduated, like a buyer for Bloomingdale's, one of these large department stores. And then after college, I got a temp job as an HR coordinator at some point. I'd never heard of human resources, but fell in love with it after they had some experience in retail. But then I transitioned to HR and honestly never turned back. It was a really good fit for me in thinking about people experience and career and learning and development and DEI. So I'm glad that it found me, honestly.
Amazing. And you fell in love with it and you just kind of stuck with it. And then you worked with, and that was in an HR capacity that you worked with Google and Verizon and Walmart.
Yeah, I started off, I moved to Atlanta a couple of years after college, and I think I met you some years later. Part of
Yes.
what I did when I moved to Atlanta is which I always do, is everyone come to my house, come visit me, come visit me. And tons of people came to visit me. I convinced them to move to Atlanta. I was there for about 9 years, but then I left. I was like, this was great. I hope you all still stay. But so yeah, I moved to Atlanta, and I think my first job in the HR space was with Verizon Wireless. And that was actually a bit of a risk because I was working a retail job at the time. I took the job because I wanted to relocate, wanted to have a job. And then someone at my church, I shared my resume with them. They knew about this contract opportunity with Verizon Wireless, and I was about to be offered a full-time role in this retail capacity, full-time, all the benefits, salary, and then was offered this contract Verizon Wireless opportunity that was going to be 3 months, no benefits, no guarantee after the 3 months. So of course, I accept the Verizon Wireless job because I was like, I want to get into this HR thing. I want to get into corporate America, and then the 3 months turned into years, and then from there, I just progressed and started to work with other companies.
Amazing. Oh wow. Yeah, that was Atlanta was amazing. That was where I met you, met Lara, and it was we had a ball
We
there. It's great.
did. Did.
And then you left Atlanta and you left all the people you brought there.
All the people I visited them, but I did. I mean, Atlanta, I loved it. It was very warm and welcoming, very much more affordable than New York City where I grew up. And it was a great time. And then I got bored. That's going to be my theme, just to let you know. And then I said, well, where do I want to try next? I moved to California knowing it was going to be temporary. But I said, let's give it a try. I was there for about 3.5 years. Worked at A6 and Google, and a startup, and then wanted to be back in New York because my nieces and nephews were taller than me. And when I left, like they weren't even born. And now I'm like, yeah, I need to be back closer to family. So,
Mhm. Do you know,
mhm.
I hear that New Yorkers can never stay away from New York. Is that true?
You know what? I wouldn't be surprised. New York is such a specific place. And honestly, I feel like I love it now, but I think it's because I left and came back. Because when I left, I was like done with New York. I was like, I want to see something different. Like but yeah, and I feel like you either love it or hate it. It's really hard to be lukewarm or New York because it's so bold and in your face.
Oh, wow. So your experience in HR, obviously you got to work with people, and it's not surprising that you run 1X League now, which we will get into in a minute. But how have other people helped to shape your journey coming to that point? So you went from HR, and then I know you had while you were still in the corporate world, you had other businesses that you ran, and I have two that come to mind that I remember, and I thought this is such a genius idea. One
Mhm.
of them was, what was the name? The cards you were making.
Oh, that's so funny. Nice
Yeah,
something. Nice
nice.
acronym. Yeah, nice greeting cards, which,
Oh,
they were not nice. They were so sarcastic and
they
fun.
were Shadé's humor 100%, very dark, very sarky. His humor is you've got a very unique one. And when I talk to people about you, which your ears must burn every time I talk about you, I say she keeps a straight face. She has a monotone and she goes from talking very seriously to cracking the craziest jokes and she wouldn't even bat an eyelid and you're all over the place.
I love it because I'm still able to catch my siblings out there. That's when you're good. Because I'm like, they've known me the longest. And I'll say something. My sister probably catches a little bit now. She'll just kind of pause and look at me. And then, like I said, I'll keep a straight face. And it's just the most fun thing to do. What's actually really, really fun is to say something in a quiet place when you're with someone and to make them laugh. And then I'm sitting there just
That's the best thing. Being able to make people laugh, I think helps to endear people to you because, boy, this life is hard enough as it is. We need some humor in our lives.
definitely.
We really, really do. So, would you say that you've had a great support system because you've lived parallel lives really as an entrepreneur and in the corporate world because you were there for quite a while and it was quite a high-powered role you had as well. What sort of support did you have along the way, if any?
Yeah, I've always had amazing friends. I think my friend circle has grown and shifted as my journey has, and that's been great. And my siblings and colleagues as well, and my team. I'm still really close to a lot of people I worked with throughout the years. And honestly, I would say I never had a personal mentor, but I've always had mentors via satellite. So like people I've never met, but I read their stories or like I followed them on, listen to their podcasts and things of that nature. And I think that a lot of times young people are looking for a mentor, and being a mentor is quite a responsibility. And I think that we can all find mentors and people that we admire and just follow their stories, see what advice they share. But yeah, I didn't have that, but I definitely had occasionally had good managers. I think I had definitely more bad managers than good. And I think honestly, a lot of people will say that because people leave jobs because of their managers, and management isn't taught. That's the one thing. It's like, oh, you're really good at doing this thing. Now, here are some humans, figure this thing out. There isn't really training for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was fortunate to honestly encourage myself when I need to. And I think that that's really important, especially as an entrepreneur, to encourage yourself because it's the most beautiful, challenging, crazy. It's why am I doing this? I'm so glad I'm doing this experience that you'll
Yes,
ever go
yes,
through.
you nailed it in a sentence. That is it. Like, yes, I'm glad I'm doing it. So true. But you make a valid point about mentorship because a lot of people, I get constantly bombarded with messages and DMs and emails asking me to mentor them. And I've always I'm a recovered people pleaser. So in the beginning, it was always yes, yes, yes. And then I'll burn myself out because I couldn't get anything done. I've since learned to be more selective and even have now put a paywall there because you would pay for what you find valuable because there is nothing more painful than going through bleeding tears and weeping blood and and you pass on the lessons you learn from that to somebody who doesn't appreciate it or
Mhm.
they're not ready to do the work. But your point about having mentors that are not people that is valid because I think it's been the same with me. I've been fortunate to have had a couple of mentors, real people in my life. But I've also had Sarah Blakely is one of my mentors. I've never met her or spoken to her. She's
Not yet.
yeah, the founder of Spanx. Love her to bits. She has just about replied to maybe one of my comments or something on LinkedIn, and that's it. So no contact with her whatsoever. But her life is one that has really encouraged me. One of the reasons why I love her is she was one of the probably the first successful businesswoman that told her story from a place of authenticity because
Mm,
you're surrounded by people who always talk about how great it is and how successful they are and how they did this, did that, and they made a million and all of that stuff. But with
mm,
Sarah, she just, she just said she told it like it was. And I find a lot of myself in her. So your mentor doesn't have to be somebody you know. It could
mhm,
just be somebody who is telling their story authentically. They're
mm,
not going to tell you anything different from what really did happen to them. So I recommend it for you that's listening to consider authentic people out there who have lived a real life, not the ones who do the flash, and adopt them as your mentor. So,
Absolutely.
mhm.
Mhm.
So 1X League, tell us from the beginning. I want to hear everything about 1X League. Tell us why you started it and what exactly it is.
Yeah, so 1X League is this beautiful, special place and space created for Black and Afro-Latina executive women and founders. And it's a social network and professional league. And we offer the short version, then I'll get into the why. We offer 5 to 6 experiences every month, both in person and virtual. We have members across North America, US and Canada. And a lot of our activities include getting on planes and traveling globally, dining experiences, art and cultural events, virtual book discussions, sessions about board readiness and wealth and, philanthropic endeavors. And it came to be um, during the pandemic. A lot of entrepreneurial stories I feel are starting with that. During the pandemic, I created this thing. But no, I felt that a lot of people were struggling during the pandemic in different ways. My struggle was guilt for feeling like sad and bad and compared to a lot of people who are losing loved ones, working long hours, getting sick. I wasn't experiencing any of that, but I was home alone. I had a great job, living in a great part. It's like all the on paper it looked fantastic, but I hadn't seen a human in weeks and then months, and after a while that can be challenging. I remember I mentioned to a family member, and this is reluctantly because I wasn't going to share anything, but I guess she could tell that something was off. And I was like, I just been so sad. And then she said, "What about the people who've lost people?" And I was like, "I should not have this conversation with you, right?" So part
Mhm.
of it is like you can experience all types of challenges, big ones, small ones. None is more important than the other, but that's just not what I needed to hear at the time. So that sort of was a moment I didn't realize at the time, but I'm like, I need to find my people who I can be myself around, share, who are going through similar things. So when it was safe to go back outside, I started hosting these brunches with Black executive women, and they were just, I mean, if they were magical. I mean, we're going around the table, we're sharing things, we're sharing resources, we're laughing, we're eating, we're talking about the things we love. And then I just started hosting them more and more. I'm first in the New York area, then the DC metro area, Atlanta area, West Coast, because they were so good and people were asking when the next one was. And it got to the point where I was too busy. I was like, I can't, like, because I had a full-time job. I was a chief people officer as well. And I was thinking of not doing it. And something in me said, just keep on. Just, yeah, I knew it could be more. I didn't know what. And then, thinking about the conversations we had, they formed what's today the 7 verticals of 1X League, based on the things that women said they love to do, wish they had in their current organizations, want to do in the future. And those verticals are arts and entertainment, entrepreneurship, philanthropy, wealth, wellness, luxury travel, and something else that I remember. And then so all of our experiences are based on those. And so it went from having these brunches and conversations to creating this organization that was more than just the brunch, but the goal is really to have a space where we can come together, where kindness is the focus, where we can share and do life together, but we're all having the same type of conversation because we're all executives. Because the other thing I found that we had in common was we didn't have a lot of people in our life that we can talk to about work and executive stuff, right? Whether it's your spouse or your best friend who you've known since you were 5 years old, who may not be an executive now, you can't really talk to them about building a team of 20,000 people across the globe. Like so having this space where women have that in common and they're also founders going, on that journey as well, has just been has been wonderful. And there's so many things that we do that's just like not on the website and not really like public. That's just special, specific moments for Black and Afro-Latina women, from the surprise and delights we have where we just like mail members things just because, but they are culturally relevant things. There are things that are created by Black companies and Black founders. The weekly communications we send out, keeping each other in the loop on like what's going on and being intentional about where we go. Like anytime we travel, it's the places that are on the like top 10 list where Black women are welcomed, are safe, where they have homes already, where they're expats. Because as we think about building 1X League and the leagues group in general globally, we want to make sure that we already have like connections in these communities that can build from relationships we've already started. So it went from brunch to this wonderful, amazing thing that members are truly engaged in and truly showing up. And it was just one X League, and then it was one Next League, which is the space for early career women who are navigating their professional journeys. So we sort of, one X League is like sort of the mentors and kind of guidance for one X League, and then created One Sweet Retreat, which you'll talk about later. So all of those are under the Leagues Group umbrella, and One Sweet Retreat is for not just women, it's for executives and in general and founders. And our first conference and retreat is this February 2025, and we're so excited. The programming is amazing. It's well, we can talk about that later, but yeah, so that's One Next League Plus.
On that note, I've got to interrupt you for a moment to tell you all about Get Unstuck. Get Unstuck is my 6-week coaching program specifically designed to help you unlock your gifts and start living the life you've been imagining. You have been imagining it, right? We all have gifts, but often they come wrapped in layers of limiting beliefs. The Get Unstuck program will help you strip away those layers so you can fully access your God-given gifts and use them to soar. This program kicks off on the 1st of November 2024, and you can sign up at toksarotire.com. The answers you seek are buried inside you, and it is time to dig them out. Now, let's get back.
Listen, I'm so excited. It's such a great, and I've been privy to some of your experiences, either watching it behind the scenes or you did do one launch here in London, which was so good. And also watched clips of your interview with Fawn Weaver, because that was at Martha's Vineyard, isn't it? Tell us about that. I want to hear about that.
Yes,
I heard about it, but I want to hear about it again, and I want the listeners to hear that.
Oh my goodness, that has to be, I think, the my favorite experience we've had to date for sure. We had a fireside chat with Fawn Weaver, who is an amazing serial entrepreneur, businesswoman who built this amazing billion-dollar brand of premium whiskey and then some. And her story and her journey is so inspiring. She's a woman of God. Her confidence just oozes out. Like she's so amazing. Anytime you've seen her an interview or video or anything, she is that plus more in person. And all the attendees were just like, like it was magical. It was in Martha's Vineyard this summer, last month actually. Why does it feel like it was months ago? Time is just like, oh my goodness.
You're a busy woman.
Oh man.
You've had lots of things happen since then.
True, but it was just so great. And she was so gracious, and she stood and took photos and talked to people. It was amazing. She's fantastic.
She is fantastic. And if you have not watched anything, any interview on Fawn Weaver or read her book or checked her out, please do. She really is a force of nature. I went to bed smiling when I listened to the recording from the event you had, the fireside chat, and I woke up feeling incredibly empowered and happy, and when someone's life touches the lives of other people for the simple fact of them being themselves, they're working in their purpose, right?
Absolutely.
Like just her being herself, even her voice. I saw a clip of her on the other day where she said she only spends 15 minutes in exercise because she's been very busy and so on. And she showed us the exercises she does, and she showed her belly, her abs are looking very, very nice and snatched. And I thought she's just such a phenomenal woman. So I encourage you to get her book. The name of her brand is Uncle Nearest. And her book, what is her book titled, Shadé?
Love and Whiskey is the story of Uncle Nearest and how she even came to know about that story, the journey, the building of the company. It is amazing, amazing.
Yeah, so highly, highly recommended. I've got the book as well, but I just haven't read it yet. Oh, that's great. So tell us we might as well go straight into One Sweet Retreat. Tell us about that. I know it's in February next year, but a bit more.
Yes. Absolutely. So it is going to be a social and professional event for executives, men, women, non-binary. It's going to be totally focused on the Black experience and Black culture. It's going to have executive sessions, but really the focus is leisure, and the theme is powerful leisure. So it starts off with a welcome reception and cocktail hour, and then there's going to be a plated dinner, then there's going to be a comedy performance, and then it's a 3-day thing as well. So that's the Friday evening. And then on Saturday, there's going to be a golf tournament for those who want to get involved in that. But the day starts for everyone else around noon because, again, leisure, right? We're not getting up too early unless we have to. And then there's going to be lunch. There's going to be presentations and conversations. We have amazing speakers and partners participating. There's going to be 2 tracks happening. So there's going to be sort of like a executive session and then a fun session. So there's going to be a spades tournament and a chess tournament and a billiards tournament and prizes given for all of that as well. Then there's going to be more food, more refreshments, and then the Saturday evening ends with a game show, a full-fledged game show where there'll be contestants and prizes and all of that. And then there's going to be another something in the evening which we'll share with the registrars registered once they submit for that. And then Sunday, there's going to be a panel breakfast, again, amazing speakers and conversations. And again, there's going to be so many opportunities to connect. I never use the word network. It's about connecting with people, getting to know them, having conversations, socializing, spa, equestrian center, golf, pool. It's amazing. The resort we're staying in has a world renowned like 17,000 square foot spa, like amazing restaurants. There's going to be a retail pop-up shop as well, where there'll be 5 Black-owned businesses selling their goods there. There's going to be an art exhibit as well with Black art. I mean, it came from an idea last year because I wanted to have a sort of conference for executives, but I didn't want it to be a typical corporate-y, stuffy thing. I wanted to be focused and centered on Black culture and the Black experience. I wanted there to be a fun component. Anyone who knows me knows I keep a deck of cards in my travel suitcase to play spades at the drop of a dime. I don't play. I'm always ready to play spades. My nephews come over all the time. We have pizza and play Monopoly. Like my siblings know, like I always am trying to get folks to play games, come over, hosting things. So it's no surprise that actually I would sort of like brainchild this experience, but we're so, so, so excited.
It sounds amazing. It sounds like the place to be. And is it open to executives across the world, or is it just United States, Canada?
Executives across the world.
Okay, that's brilliant. So we have listeners in, I think, 27 countries. So if you're listening, you're an executive, you're male, you're female, you're Black, Afro-Latina, this is for you. I'm not going to say much more because Shadé has said everything. It sounds absolutely amazing. Wow. So what sort of challenges, because I know that with 1X League, you mentioned having a safe space for Black women executive. What sort of challenges do they face that you are providing that safe space from?
Yeah, when I think about my own journey and the journey that peers have had as we were coming up, there's usually issues of you're the only one a lot of times, right? You might be the only woman, the only Black person, or, bonus, the only Black woman, and then having someone who understands you, who respects you at work is a blessing if you have that. And many times you have to deal with microaggressions, not getting promotions, not getting certain projects, and then not having someone to talk to about it. So those are some of the things that, that made me think that, 1X League was a space that women needed to have so they can, bounce ideas off of each other. They don't have a peer to at work, or just share how they navigated different situations. And yeah, but what's interesting is when we come together, there's some shop talk, but it's really about like life and family and kids that people are talking about, and the latest, books and albums and where are we going next, and food and all of that. But just having that resource, especially for the founders, they definitely share a lot and share ideas and brainstorm things and kind of have like a mini focus group. But that's sort of like, why that 1X League came to be.
It sounds so good because you don't want to, I have a different childhood experience from you in the sense that although I was born in the United Kingdom, I grew up in Nigeria. So I grew up in a space where I was never referred to as Black. I was just a girl. I grew up in a place where race and racism were found only in history books, nowhere else. It was not my lived experience. It was not anyone's experience around us. And having just knowing that Black women in the United States and even here in the UK need to have a space to have a normal conversation about business, life, work, family, without it always divulging into what they have experienced because of the color of their skin. I think that's such a blessing that you've created that space. So well done on that.
Thank you. Thank you.
You know, one of the things that that shapes the lives of entrepreneurs is the experience of failure and the temptation to quit and the, you know, ramping yourself up again and trying to get going again when it feels like there's no point going. How have you navigated those sorts of challenges that are common to entrepreneurs?
Yeah, I think it's first it's realistic to expect challenges, right? It's almost like going outside without an umbrella and then getting mad if you get wet. It's like it's a part of it, right? I see failure differently now over the last few years. It's definitely learning opportunities, right? I say all the time that when you win, when you get the trophy, when you get the account, you're busy celebrating and popping bottles, right? You're not reflecting on what could have gone better. It's the times that things didn't go the way we expected that we pause and reflect and see what we could have done differently. So what people call failure is a necessary part of refining and getting to the next level, because a lot of times that's the only way we're going to reflect and kind of like make some changes. And I saw the best illustration of sort of like life with like failure and entrepreneurship. It was like picture a wall with like it's all bricks, and like most of the bricks are like gray, and then maybe 10% of the bricks like throughout it are like blue. And it's like the blue are what people call failure. Like we should assume it's going to be a part of the thread, a part of the fabric, a part of the wall. Not that there's like success, 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 and oh no, this failure thing. It's like, no, it's like a part of the experience of how it's all supposed to go. And sometimes failure happens so we can go through another door. Sometimes we do it to ourselves, but we can still learn from that. But yeah, it's all a part of it. And I think I am not risk averse like at all. I will take many risks, especially when it comes to entrepreneurship. I believe in trying it. At the end of the day, I don't want to have regrets of not trying.
Right.
So I'll try all the things and then really just see what sticks. I pray like God and I all day long, like we're talking, he's guiding me. And I have faith and belief that he's gonna open the doors and do the things he's supposed to do. So that gives me a lot of peace as well. But yeah, I think like the world needs to reframe failure, and people need to stop being afraid of it, because the truth is that we have no control over anything. So the comfort zone is more risky to me, because it's like your life is kind of like like if you're an employee, you can get fired at any time. So not starting the thing because you think it might fail. I'm like anything might quote unquote fail, you know?
Right. No, that's very, very wise. And I agree with you. It is part of it. And I'm guilty of trying to either convert failure to success or running from failure completely. And it has never served me well. I watched a clip just 2 days ago that I'm still sitting with, and this woman was talking about, and I've only watched it once, but I need to rewatch it to really get what she was saying. And she's a mindset coach, and she said that there's a difference between emotions and feelings. Emotions are what are somatic, and we experience it in our body. So for example, you are afraid and there is a quickening of your heart, or you're feeling depressed and you feel down and all of that. You can actually feel it in your body. And feeling is the association of a story with the emotion. And she said that emotions typically last for 90 seconds. But we're so scared of them that we try to pivot, we try to duck, we try to explain it away. We do everything except go through the emotion. And if we just sit with it, sit with the fear, sit with whatever it is, the discouragement, sit with it without the story that you're telling yourself, it will surely pass. And then you can carry on. I really love the illustration you gave about the wall, the brick wall with the blue. That's such a powerful visual, and I'm going to take that away from me to help me embrace failure more often and not necessarily define it as I've done something wrong. And like you said, sometimes it's because of something we've done, but there is learning opportunity in it. And it really is part of the fabric of our story. We have to talk about the Amalfi Coast in detail and really just celebrating friendships, because I confess that when I was leaving London to go and join you in Italy, I had a little bit of apprehension. I was dealing with a lot business wise at home. Everything just seemed like, my plate was overflowing, and it wasn't overflowing with pasta either. And
Mhm.
I just felt rather overwhelmed.
Mhm.
And I thought, and I'm about to go and meet 7 women. Half of them I've never met in my life. And I don't know how this is going to turn out. I've heard of girl trips that don't end well, or halfway through, this person isn't speaking to another. Um, I always have the confidence that I would not be the beginner of anyone's trouble. Like, I know that I'm not that person. But what I didn't want was to get there and either witness it happening to other people, or just feeling, I don't know, I just had a lot of negative thoughts, I confess. So my thing was just go there and just be nice, be demure, to use the
The current.
exactly, be demure and be cutesy and classy and everything, and be quiet. But then I got there and my mind was blown. The ladies they literally feel like family now. I didn't feel different. I mean, because you all know each other, you all grew up together. So there was your sister, your cousin Lara, and then the butterflies, which is your group of girls, your group of girlfriends. You all grew up in New York together. And honestly, I was just so blown away by the love, the acceptance. I felt like I had grown up with all of you, and I did not feel othered at all. So how is it that you're able to build such remarkable friendships that you can bring 8 women together to a villa in a country we don't live in, and we all fall in love with each other? How?
Yes. First of all, we have to go back 5 years because we did this before. It was 8 women, my a birthday again, south of France. And I think that trip especially, yeah, most of the women didn't know each other. So everyone was there for my birthday, and again, a curation of women. And I think I
That's
told you this before. One of my favorite moments was I was in one of the back rooms and I heard everyone laughing. And I was like,
that
like
was nice.
it was so good. Like that one was amazing too. Amalfi Coast was amazing, but I'm really, really intentional about who's in my life. And I think I'm really good at seeing people for who they are, not who I think they were, who I think they should be. So even
Mm.
if like I meet someone and I'm like excited about them, I think they're great. As soon as they show me who they are, I'm like, oh, that's who you are.
That's
I'm
who
not
you
like
are.
in the, oh, but no, and I don't make excuses for people.
Mm.
So tons of acquaintances, and I know like amazing, wonderful people, but like my close circle of people, I make sure that one, and I use this word so much, I know people are sick of it, kind. You got to be kind. Like kindness is the value of one next league. Kindness is like how the lens I use and live my life, because everyone's going through something, right? But we can choose to show up kind. So you have to be kind. You have to have a sense of humor. You
Mm.
have to be um that's really the two: be kind, have a sense of humor, have similar like life philosophies and morals, right? I think we all have acquaintances who are, we've known them for a long time, or they're great, but it's like, I don't know,
Exactly.
just whatever. But yeah, so I'm really, really intentional about who's in my life. I know there are some people who can't be by themselves. I would
Mm.
rather be by myself than with someone who's going to stress me out, or, just I don't do it. I don't do it. So I just, pick and choose. And
You're
just
right.
when great people know other great people. So it's always a growing network of greatness.
Nice, amazing. Because there was a completely different group from the South of France group, and that was amazing as well. That was a wonderful holiday, and I can't believe it's been 5 years. That was
So
a great birthday. I went on and on about that one, and got into the deep blue sea for the first time in my entire life in the middle of nowhere. We had a private yacht. It was just amazing.
that was the most beautiful, bougiest.
We were, we were very bougie for that period. And yeah, we lived the life, private chef and everything. That
But
was really good. But no, well done on doing that. I'm also very intentional about the people I have in my life. I say that when I think about my girlfriends, I see myself in the middle. I see my girls, including you, of course, with their backs turned to me, but they're linking arms in a circle, protecting me and watching me, watching out for me and watching my back. And I really feel protected by my girlfriends, and I feel safe with them. When I, like you, identify a character that is less than that, I don't always like, you're not for me, but I just move them out of that circle into the outer circle. So there are people in my life that are obviously my core people that I can call in the middle of the night. And then there are those who are, we do share an acquaintance, we can go out for dinner, we can hang out, but not necessarily live under the same roof for too long. So there is definitely wisdom and power in being intentional about picking your circle of friends. So how much has having a tribe of women in your life, how how can I ask this question? What role do you think they play in your success?
Ooh, I would say they pray for me. They are extremely supportive. I remember when I was writing my book, the friends who were kind of asking, how's it going? How's it going? They had two or three covers, and I shared the covers to help me pick like which one for like just like they care. And I'm super involved in their lives and just support them. And yeah, I don't know, doing life alone is hard. Doing a life with bad people is also hard. If you can find one really, really close friend that has your back, it's such a blessing. And if you have multiple, that's like blessing on blessing. And it's just so important to have really good like personal and professional relationships because it impacts your entire life. I think I went to a seminar one time and the seminar was either about housing or something, and they were like the first piece of advice I'm going to give you is marry the right person. And I was like, what does that have to do with? But it's so true. Like if you marry the wrong person, it impacts your life in ways you can't even like. So relationships to me have always been really, really, really important and intentional.
I think it's wise because when you look back on the journey of your life, you find that more often than not, we don't walk alone. And you don't want any portion of your journey or as much as possible, as little as possible of your journey to be marked by bad relationships or sorrow because of somebody else. So
Yeah.
as we wrap up, we're looking forward to the future beyond or besides the One Sweet Retreat. What else are we looking forward to? What are you most excited about the next chapter of your life and of One X League?
Wow. It's hard to know about One X League because we're in our third year now. And when it first was launched, it was like, wow, we're going to really grow this wonderful, amazing thing. And then now we have One Next League and One Sweet Retreat. So I can't even tell you. We might have 10 whole new companies by the end of next year. That's not the plan, but
Knowing you, it's probably going to be the plan.
you know.
It's going to happen.
And then when I think about life, I have amazing nephews and nieces who are the freaking joy of my life. Like I just love watching them. They're smart. They're going through college or graduated college and doing amazing things. I make sure I'm there for when they have their first weekend on campus to help like tuck them in and just seeing their successes. So watching them is a wonderful, wonderful part of life I get to enjoy as an auntie as well. And more travel, lots of travel for sure, and continuing to build and grow relationships, collaborate more with other organizations and
Mm.
yeah, be an advocate for Black women and Black men and Black families and Black people, and do what I can do, and yeah, that's
Definitely making a mark. I can tell you that for sure. You're already building your legacy, and which leads me on to another question. What would you want your legacy to be? What do you want to be remembered for? I feel like we asked this question. Did we ask this question in Italy? I think we did.
I think I said, which I still agree with, I want to be known for somebody who brought people together professionally and personally. And I was doing it before I realized I was doing it. Like as we're talking now about the Amalfi Coast trip, I'm like, oh yeah, and 5 years ago we did that in south of France, and 5 years before that we did it in south of France too. Like that was so bringing people together, having not just bringing people together for together's sake, but having amazing experiences so that like-minded, aligned, kind people are coming together to support each other, laugh. I think when we were in the Amalfi Coast, I got there a couple of days before everyone. I was there from Monday to Monday, and I probably slept a total of 15 hours. Like because we were it's like, okay, I'm gonna go to bed. Okay, I'm gonna go to bed. 2, 3, 8. Like we just talking, then get up early to go do things. But it was like the best. It
It
was.
was the best. It was the best. And Shadé also had this cute little bags, which you can probably see on the screen now. She had this cute little bags for us. So welcome to Shadé's birthday bag with very thoughtful items in it, including lemon soap and the fan, because it's so hot over there. Those fans are so cute, by the way. And the Q-tips. And I thought, how did she think of all of this? It was such a beautiful, beautiful time. So thank you for including me on that. But I want to ask for the women who are listening or the men who are listening, what word of encouragement will you give them if they are going through a challenging season or they feel stuck, they feel like they have their dreams buried in their belly, but they are unable to get it out and they're just not moving forward?
I would say not to ignore that God gives us all something. And I think the more we ignore it, the fainter that sound is. Like, I would say take action and find people who can support you. If that's not the people you currently know and live with, find other people, find a group of people, find a network, find the one person who you can share ideas with and resources. I can't imagine living a life not doing what I'm called to do or living in fear, not taking chances. I think when they ask most old people at their end of life, like what their regrets are, and it's always regrets about not doing a thing. At the end, I want to have every single thing checked off, whether it quote unquote succeeded or failed, and what people call failure. At the end of the day, I tried all the things. I wasn't afraid of what anyone thought. So I would say, especially if you're afraid of what people think, the people you're afraid of are the people who probably matter the least, right? The people sitting on the sidelines, not doing anything, who have all the comments and judgment. Like the people who are really hustling and trying, those are the ones who are going to encourage you. And at the end of the day, just keep your eye above and go for the thing.
Amen to that. That's amazing. Thank you so much, Shadé. I have really loved our conversation, loved learning more about 1X League, the business wisdom you shared. And also, I think I realized for the first time that you really are doing, and you've always done what you were created to do. And I tie that right back to when you said you were growing up and you just wanted to do what you wanted to do. You really are doing that because you started the fashion business, you stayed in fashion, you loved it. Not one of the top careers for Nigerian children, especially first generation Nigerian kids. And then you worked in HR and you really love bringing people together and you really are a people person. And I wonder what your former employers at Google and Verizon would say if they were to see you now. They would say, we always knew. I think there would be, yeah, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised at 1X League. I'm not surprised she's doing this. This is what she was supposed to do. So thank you so much for being a guest.
It was such a pleasure. Thank you, Tokes.
Amazing. And thank you for listening to Living Inside Out. Remember that you can subscribe on anywhere podcasts are played: Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, everywhere. And don't forget to recommend Living Inside Out to your family and friends, especially if you loved this conversation. There is so much more to come. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is at Tokes Aruture. Everything is Tokes Aruture, no spaces or dashes. And I mentioned at the start that I will be beginning a mindset coaching course, Get Unstuck, on the 1st of November. It's not yet open for registration, but it is open for you to leave your name on the wait list if you are interested and you'd love to be a part of it. We only have room for 6 to 8 people, so it's not everyone that signs up that's going to be taken on, at least not on this cohort. So head to talksaratory.com, and I've left the link in all the links to all the things in the show notes. And one more thing, Shadé, I didn't ask. So where can people find you, Shadé?
Yes, they can find me at LinkedIn at Shadé Akande, also 1X League on LinkedIn, and then on Instagram at 1X League. And for our retreat at One Sweet Retreat, which is SUITE, and onesweetretreat.com.
Amazing. I'm going to put all the links in the show notes so you can have a read through, go through and check Shadé out and all the wonderful things she's doing. Thank you so much for listening. Look forward to chatting soon. Talk to you soon.